If you're a trader, you probably think your biggest battle is against the market, right? Against all those algos, the big institutions, or other traders. But what if I told you the most decisive war isn't even happening on your screen? See, the truth is, your greatest opponent isn't some hedge fund or supercomputer. It's that 3-pound chunk of gray matter right between your ears. Let's really dig into why. And look, this isn't just some nice-sounding quote to put on a poster. For a trader, this is literally the entire game. The market, yeah, that's your Mount Everest. It's this massive, impersonal force. But the real conquest, the one that actually determines whether you make it or you don't, is mastering yourself. And this isn't just some philosophical idea. We've got hard data. A study by SEBI, India's top financial regulator, found that a staggering 89% of individual traders in the derivatives market lose money. Just let that sink in for a second. We're talking about nearly 9 out of 10 people. And it's not because they're dumb. It's because they show up to a psychological gunfight armed with a textbook, totally clueless that the real enemy is staring back at them in the mirror. And that's the war nobody ever warns you about, right? You spend all this time, months, maybe even years, learning about charts, indicators, and all these complex strategies. You're gearing up for this epic battle of wits and data. But you spend almost zero time learning about the one place where the war is actually won or lost, inside your own head. I mean, let's be real for a second. You probably got into trading because of the dream on the left. You know, the financial freedom, the laptop on a beach lifestyle. But the reality for most people, it's the brutal, chaotic fight on the right. Not with the market, but this daily, exhausting battle with your own impulses, your own fears, and yeah, your own hopes. So to really get a handle on this internal fight, we need to meet the combatants. And here's where it gets fascinating. Your brain isn't just one unified commander giving orders. Oh no. It's more like 3 different generals, each with its own agenda, all screaming conflicting orders and fighting for the controls at the worst possible time. Okay, first up, you've got the reptilian brain. This is the oldest, most primal part of you. Its only job is to keep you alive. And here's the problem. It can't tell the difference between a stock price plummeting and a saber-toothed tiger in the bushes. So when it sees red on your screen, it hijacks everything, just screaming danger, and floods your system with pure, unthinking panic. Then you've got your emotional engine, the limbic system. This is where the famous amygdala hijack comes from. Think of it like a super sensitive fire alarm that's hardwired to your emotions. It completely bypasses your rational brain and triggers those impulsive moves, like revenge trading a loss or FOMOing into a top, before your logical brain even has a chance to put its boots on. And finally, you have what we could call your trading brain, the prefrontal cortex. This is the CEO. It's the part that made your brilliant, well-thought-out trading plan. It's logical, it's rational, it's sophisticated. But, and this is a huge but, it has a fatal flaw. Under the stress cooked up by the other 2 brains, it's the very first part to just go offline. It's like the captain of the ship getting knocked out and locked in their cabin the second the storm hits. Now, as if having 3 different parts of your brain at war with each other wasn't bad enough, we are also all hardwired with a cognitive bias that is just absolutely devastating for traders. It's this invisible trap that almost guarantees you'll make emotional decisions. It's called the asymmetry of pain. You see, the incredible work of Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman proves something that feels true but has massive consequences for us. The pain of losing, say, $1,000 feels about twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining $1,000. And listen, this isn't some personal weakness. It's an evolutionary feature. Our ancestors survived because they were way more sensitive to the threat of a predator than the opportunity to find some fruit. So how does this play out? Well, this emotional imbalance leads directly to the 2 classic behaviors that absolutely wreck trading accounts. On the left, when a trade is working, the fear of losing that winning feeling is so strong that we panic and cut our profits way, way too soon. And on the right, when a trade is losing, the pain of actually taking that loss is so intense that we cling to hope, letting a small, manageable loss bleed out into a catastrophic one. So if our own brains are wired against us, what on earth do we do? Is it hopeless? Not at all. The turning point, the real breakthrough, happens when you make a crucial mental shift. It's when you stop seeing the market as this enemy you have to beat, and you start seeing it for what it really is, a perfect, brutally honest mirror. And that forces us to ask a really fundamental and, yeah, maybe uncomfortable question. When you really think about everything we've seen, our internal wiring, our emotional triggers, our biases, who is the real opponent that you're up against every single day?
The legendary Benjamin Graham. the guy who literally wrote the book on value investing. He knew the answer decades ago. It's not the system, it's not the news, it's not the smart money. The number one obstacle standing between you and consistent success is, and always will be, yourself.
This brings us to what I think is the fundamental law of trading psychology. Your P&L statement, it is not a report card on your market knowledge or how good your strategy is. Nope. It's a direct, unfiltered printout of your psychological architecture. It's a reflection of your discipline, your patience, your greed, your fear. You fix the psychology, and the P&L has no choice but to follow. Okay, so how do we actually start to rebuild that architecture? Well, the path to mastery isn't about becoming some fearless, emotionless robot. That's a total myth. It's about becoming fear literate. It's about learning to read your own internal signals, to understand what they're telling you without letting them take control of the ship.
So how do you build this skill? Here are 3 powerful, honestly non-negotiable practices. Number 1, journal your psychology. For every single trade, you don't just write down the entry and exit. You write down what you were thinking and what you were feeling. That's how you find your destructive patterns. Number 2, practice mindfulness. Seriously, even 5 minutes a day helps you create this tiny but crucial space between feeling an emotion and impulsively acting on it. And third, conduct a loss autopsy. After a losing trade, go back and investigate it like a detective. Not to beat yourself up, but to understand forensically the psychological chain of events that led to that outcome.
At the end of the day, the market is just a mirror. It reflects you back to yourself with brutal, unflinching honesty. It shows you your impulsiveness, your greed, your discipline, your fear, all in real time with real money on the line. So the million-dollar question isn't how are you going to beat the market? The real question is, what are you going to do about the person you see in that reflection?